Welcome back to the World of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. The Editors Roundtable is brought to you by Tennis Magazine.
Hi there, welcome to another edition of Tennis Magazine Editors Roundtable. I'm here, Peter Bodo, with David Rosenberg and Stephen Tignor, my colleagues. Today we'll be talking about pervasive influence of the gift that keeps giving, Billie Jean King.
I think as far as what she means now, it's sort of hard to say. She's so, she's everywhere in tennis, so you sort of forget what she did. But what she did was basically invent women's professional sports in the early 70s, something that, then was not many people, I think, thought was viable, that women's tennis could survive as a professional tour on its own.
Yeah, well, I think nowadays when people talk about what can they do to make tennis more accessible to people or get people more involved in tennis, I think Billie Jean was the type of person where you needed someone who had that much charisma, who had that much energy, and she was
an organizer.
She was this major sort of person. I mean, she was this crazy kind of fun person to watch. I think people caught on to her. And that's missing today.
When she launched World Team Tennis, I think the game was ripe to be taken. World Team Tennis, her original version of World Team Tennis, the top players, Bjorn Borg skipped the French Open to play World Team Tennis. Chris Evert played World Team Tennis. Connors Everett. You can go down a list. But I think they made a little bit of a mistake in really trying to, get away from the old game as much as possible. So they really sort of blew up the old game and tried to do something new, with the multicolored court, the radical scoring system, the shortening. I think if they had taken more of an approach and make it a little bit more like traditional tennis with Davis Cup type element and stuff, they actually, I think, could have captured a much larger audience, and maybe today we'd have World Team.
I think that's definitely true, because you thought in the 70s that she was going to take over with World Team Tennis and the slams were going to become obsolete, but the opposite has happened. The slams are still the strongest, stronger than they've ever been. Much more the pillars of the game than they have been.
Did you think much when Billie Jean King first came around? What were your impressions of Billie Jean King?
My impressions of Billie Jean King? I was already...
She was a great player to watch.
Yeah, she was. She was great to watch. She was a fun sort of jock-type player, right? And as I said before, I think her enthusiasm was really incredible. And I always like watching players that are fighters.
Well, there's no question about Billie Jean King's influence in tennis, and I have a funny feeling it's not finished yet, so stay tuned, folks. Well, thanks for joining us for another edition of Tennis Magazine Editors Roundtable, and please join us again next time. For all things tennis, visit tennis.com.
This Editors Roundtable discussion was brought to you by Tennis Magazine. Get exclusive tennis coverage online at tennis.com.
What an amazing week of weather and tennis here at UCLA at the Farmers Classic. Sam Querrey defends his title, upsetting the first seed Andy Murray, and the Bryan brothers set the all-time record for doubles titles as a team. Watch with us next week as we head to the Legg Mason Tennis Classic in Washington, D.C., and what a field they have there. Andy Murray, first-seeded Thomas Berdych, Querrey, Isner, Mardy Fish, who's on fire and won 10 straight matches. It should be a great tournament. Well, that's it for this week of the World of Tennis, presented by BNP Paribas. I'm Justin Gimelstob. Thanks for watching.